Howdy folks, Kdog back here. Welcome back to Kdogs Movies. Now, I'm doing this particular review on a Sunday evening. It is dark outside, and mostly because, well, we have to do something tomorrow morning that we all do not like to do. We don't like. We have to get up and go to work. And to be honest, no. Some of us are happy with our jobs. Some of us are not so happy with our jobs. And with the COVID-19 thing going on, well, some of our jobs are much more difficult to deal with right now. But in the meantime, I'm going to give you my opinions on this film in particular, because after watching this film, and I've seen this film several times, it's based off a cartoon, but in reality, it's very, very true to life. Because you go through this movie and you know these people that you work with. What am I talking about? From 1999, and the creator of Beavis and Butthead, it is Office Space. Yeah, again, from 1999, released by 20th Century Fox originally, from creator Mike Judge, starring Ron Livingston, Jennifer Aniston, Stephen Root, and Gary Cole. What I love about this film, well, first, let's talk about the film. What happens in the film? The film is about a guy by the name of Peter Gibbons, and he works with his two buddies, Michael Bolton and Samir Nainanajad. And no one can pronounce the guy's name. They all work for this. They work for this office firm that is software that handles software for banks and finance companies and whatnot. And their job is to do, the software writing and make sure that everything works for these banks and whatnot. And you have the guy of Peter. He is so drained and mentally worn out of working at this job, and it's day to day, Monday through Friday, nose to the grindstone office work, and he has to deal with people. He doesn't particular. You see what he like in the first shot of the movie. You see what he goes through. From everything from the traffic jam to showing up at work and always being zapped with static electricity on the door handle. When he sits in his cubicle, he's constantly got one of the brown-nosing employees in the background pretending like she's auditioning to become someone who's in corporate. She keeps going, corporate accounts, Nina speaking, just a moment, like she's going to be the receptionist for corporate. And, and then he has his boss, played by Gary Cole. The character name is Bill Lumberg. And Bill Lumberg is this very, very passive-aggressive, monotonic, he's trying to make somebody feel good just because he has to, because his attitude is very, very monotonic. When he comes up to Peter, he's like, "Hey, Peter, what's happening?" And he says that to every single person, hey, so-and-so, what's happening? Like he's their best friend. And and he's always got a cup of coffee in his hand, with the, and he's a complete jerk, even though he's trying to portray that he's not a jerk. But and then you have Peter's friends like Michael and Samir. They do the same. They do same thing that he does at a different cubicle. But they're just they're his support buddies, and you know they go get coffee with, and of course they have their own dealings with. They have their own problems every day that they have to deal with a constantly malfunctioning printer and copier that just constantly jams paper, even though there's maybe one sheet of paper in the printer. And yeah, trust me, I deal with something like that every day. So yeah, I know what I'm talking about. And there's another character in The Office played by Stephen Root. His character's name is Milton. And Milton is a very, very... How do I want to say it? He's that guy who's very, very squirrely and mumbles a lot. And it's hard to describe this person without being... very condescending, because it's not very nice to say this about people, but he's that guy who's always got he's got little stains on his tie, and he mumbled around him, and he can't really express himself that when he's angry. And of course the big payoff of the film is what he does at the end. And then you got Jennifer Aniston coming into the mix. Well, Jennifer Aniston, she is a waitress at one of the nearby restaurants that's just nearby the office. And she deals with... She has her own office problems, too. Or job problems, I should say. Her boss is constantly harassing her about not wearing enough flair. And... like buttons and little lights and stuff like that on her uniform, while a co-worker who's he wears more than enough flair, he constantly gets promoted. Say, why can't you be like him? And she does what she has to do. But also, like I said, Peter comes over to have coffee about every day to take his break, take his coffee break, and he brings his two buddies. But then one day he musters up the courage, to ask her out. But also, Peter sees a psychotherapist to help him get through the daily grind. And when this happens, it's like all the cares that he really had about the company melt away, and all of the concerns he has just melt away. And so he starts showing some unteam player-like attitude towards the boss and certain co-workers, and eventually he gets promoted. And the film is... They also find a way to... because he has to eventually fire his two buddies. And one of the things that he does, instead of them entirely blaming him at first, he knows that that one of his buddies has created a virus, a computer virus, that would rip off the company a bunch of money, but it would take a few years to end up in the account. And but things go wrong with the virus, and things go wrong little personally. But the movie has a great payoff with the character, and with each character, and it kind of ends up satisfied. I don't want to say necessarily it is a happy ending, but it's just more like satisfied, because your job is your job, and you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, and it seems like, to be honest, in my job, I feel like I've constantly had bad days. But what can you do? I do tend to bite the hand that feeds me a little bit, but that's what I've got. And the reason why I like this movie, Office Space, yeah, it's about people who work in an office, but in the long run, it's about people who have jobs. Just to be honest, it's about people who have jobs, because you watch this film, and whether you are a construction worker, or you work at McDonald's, or you work in a factory, work in an office, you're going to watch this film and you're going to see your team. Like, you know that squirrely guy who's constantly mumbling. You got the corporate brown noser. You got all these people. You have the boss that's very, very extremely passive aggressive, and you can't stand him. You know these people, and I'm not saying this like if you literally hate your job, and that it should remind you of that, like remind you the work. No, it's done in a comedic taste. Like I said, this was originally based on some animated shorts that Mike Judge had done for, I think, for Saturday Night Live or something along those lines. But it was, those animated shorts were done pre Beavis and Butthead, and he just kind of sat on it for a while. But eventually he eventually turned it into a live action film, and so it's a very, very good comedy movie, but it's very, very true to life. Even though some of the characters do seem kind of cartoony at points, but like I said, you know these people who you work with, and I just went and looked up some, like an old Siskel and Ebert review, and unfortunately Gene Siskel had passed away by the time that this film came out, and so but Roger Ebert, they were talking about it, and with his guest critic, and they said it was like a cartoon, but they said I can relate to being in that setting, because being in an office, especially with a malfunctioning printer, that you want to do what they do later in the film, is take the thing out into a field and just smash it. And to be honest, working with printers, through my whole educational life and personal life, I've never seen a printer that works 100%. Not one brand. They are all junk, to be honest. Hewlett-Packard, Canon, they're all junk printers, okay? And there's times you just want to grab the thing out and take a baseball bat to it. And so, one interesting bit of trivia is the character of Milton, he carries around his red stapler. It's a red swing line stapler. And the interesting thing was, at the time, Swingline did not make a red stapler. They now make a red stapler thanks to Office Space. Actually, because I guess some office workers were really requesting the red colored staplers from Swingline, and Swingline said, we don't make that type of stapler. But it got them to think, because they got enough people asking for it, why not make a red colored stapler? And so that's why when you go to Staples or any office supply store, you can find a red Swingline stapler. Thank you, Office Space. But yeah, Office Space from 1999. Check it out. It's not meant for the kids. Definitely, there's some very, very adult humor in jokes that's in the film, and yeah. So if you can just check this movie out, that would be great. My Bill Lumbergh impression. Yeah, yeah. Just check the movie out, okay? So from me to you. See you later.